Hey everybody, it's Mike from Here the Watchmen, and you know what? We are here coming at you today from Canton, Ohio, Coach Dave's conference, Occupy 2019. It is at the Marriott Hotel, the Courtyard by Marriott. Still time to get here if you're local, you're in the area, come on out, be a part of this. It's a life-changing event.
Amen.
I have with us today Mr. Mark Trump. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here, Mike.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It's amazing seeing what God's doing through these great men, and Here the Watchmen, as well as Occupy and Coach Dave's huddles, and it's just amazing. Pass the Salt Ministries has been a godsend for me.
Now, how did you come across Coach Dave to begin with?
Well, good question. I was at a Here the Watchmen conference in Boise, Idaho during the Great Eclipse, and while at that conference, I realized how far behind as a man I have become. And the people that you put on stage and that have been doing this work for years are unbeknownst to me, was unbeknownst to the church. So once I realized that, I felt I'd been deceived, Mike, and through a few more months I worked as normal, but I felt like I had to do more. So I've been serving in a lot of different ways, and it's just been a blessing being a part of the kingdom. Really has.
And you know, you like me, you have kind of an interesting story, sort of an upbringing. Talk to us about how you grew up and what went on in your early life.
Well, I started off on Coach saying I'm a hillbilly, and a lot of people look at that term derogatory, but I always considered myself a hillbilly, not a redneck. There's a distinct difference, and I grew up in the hills of Virginia with very little, walking to the school bus both ways uphill. You know how that goes. But, absolutely. So opportunity was there for me to go to college, but I decided to follow my father's footsteps and go in the Navy. So I was in the Navy for 12 years. I was a reactor operator in the beginning. I served on the Nautilus, which was the first nuclear-powered submarine. They had a prototype in Idaho Falls. And following that, I was on 2 nuclear-class carriers, the Eisenhower and the Nimitz. So through that, I got out, and I've been doing security since. So God has really blessed me with the ability to serve others. And one day I woke up and realized I was a security guy, and I didn't really know what that meant. But now I do cybersecurity, and I help companies secure the most vital assets of our nation's infrastructure, including nuclear power plants, power generation platforms such as ships and airplanes, as well as pipeline systems. And since Trump has been blessing our workforce, of course, there's been a lot of activity in infrastructure, building pipelines and improving things. So it's led to a lot of vulnerabilities that many are unaware. So I spend a lot of time educating folks on vulnerabilities, and that's basically what I've been doing with my time since the Watchmen conference in Boise, Idaho in 2017. I've been teaching people about the impact of technologies, and helping people understand maybe what John saw 2,000 years ago on Patmos Island. And I felt like God gave me these abilities to do this. So that's what I've been doing, is trying to identify how modern-day technologies are impacting us spiritually.
Amen. That's great. That's great work, brother. Now, you are going to be speaking here. He's one of the speakers, folks, here at Occupy 2019. You can find more information about the conference just by going to CoachDaveLive.com. But Mark, what are you going to be sharing about when you present?
Well, we know that the deceiver, the great liar, we know that Satan is out there. We know that we are supposed to understand his devices, be wary of his devices, so as not to be deceived. So what I'm speaking about is the invisible forces around us, the prince of the power of the air. Who is the prince, and what is the power of the air? So I'm going to start off talking about frequencies. And we're going to start off with understanding what frequencies are, how frequencies have been modernized to do just abominable things, and all in the name of science and healthcare and improvements, but they're being used and weaponized. So at the end of this, I'd like to let people understand that there's a world, an invisible world around us that we don't see, Mike. And our body, for instance, is the majority is water. And water is, in fact, impacted by frequencies. There's many, many studies, and you can look those up. But if we continue to add frequencies, such as 5G coming, What does that mean? Well, the first part is to determine where we are. What are we getting bombarded with as far as radiation? What is the impact of that? And what are the forms that it comes in? Educate yourselves of the enemy's devices. And then there's light. Light is yet another group of frequencies. So how can light be used? Well, we know in medicine that light's used to trigger frequencies, to trigger seizures. Blue light can trigger seizures, and yellow light can suppress seizures.
Right.
So these are frequencies. These are different bandwidths of light that our eyes process, and it changes, the way our brain operates. So can that be weaponized? Can blue light, through all the TV screens out in the world, create a condition across anyone watching these TV screens or our cell phones? So I'm just happy to have worked in radar. I've worked in many electromagnetic devices that are used by the military as weapons. There's vast amounts of information within the defense contractor force, if you look, but people aren't aware of how it impacts us. So really that's my goal, is to educate people.
Great. And we need that. Mark, I want to go back, take you back just a little bit to what we just talked about, and that's 5G technology. There are a lot of people out there, folks, that think those of us that are a little skeptical about the 5G thing are a bunch of nuts. How do you weigh in on that? Is 5G something we really need to pay attention to?
Absolutely, Mike. 5G is simply a higher range of frequencies, 5 gigahertz, 5G, fifth generation. But basically what we're talking about is a band of frequencies that have wavelengths that are of millimeter length, sometimes called millimeter waves. As frequencies have evolved, such as sound frequencies, they can be used to detect a heartbeat in a baby, which we know is a life, on through light and through all the RF frequencies. So as computers have improved, we're able to use higher frequencies to transfer data. So 5G, in effect, is a new internet. So once the 5G grid, which is currently being established both on land-based and satellite-based communications, once that grid is established, the hardwire internet may not be needed. It'll become like 5-volt telephone lines someday. In addition, 5G is going to enable many more devices to connect because it's much faster. Therefore, you can receive data from more devices at the same time. So there's this term, Internet of Things, or IoT. And what that is all the different devices that are going to be connected in your homes to keep track of what you do so that they can advertise to you. It said your shoes will have chips in them that'll be tracked by 5G. Watering pails will have chips in them so that whenever you water your plants, you'll get an advertisement for fertilizer. These all make common sense to advertisers, and if you know social media, the primary objective is to provide you pop-ups to have you buy things. It's a multi-million, multi-billion-dollar industry. 5G is going to be much more invasive. Moreover, our bodies can be detected through microwave energy.
See that, Mark, that's what worries me. I'm not so much worried, folks, about if I get a pop-up about the fertilizer I use, on our ranch. No, I am not too worried about that. But what I'm worried about is the invasion of privacy that could be taken to the next step.
That's right.
And the effects on our bodies.
Amen.
That's what I'm worried about. And I think it's something we all need to pay attention to.
Privacy and health.
Yes.
And when you have an invisible attack, when it's invisible, how do you know? Physical security involves gates, guards, guns, and cameras. So basically, you can see the attack. What happens when the attack is invisible through a wire or through the air, through the prints of the power of the air? What happens then? How do you see it? So there is frequency detection systems that you can use to survey areas to determine the frequencies in those areas. But they're not consumerized. Satan does not want these invisible attacks, these invisible monitoring to be detected. So basically, the vigilance that we need to do, we need to use technology to identify these threats. And they're in the air, it's radiation. The military systems have been consumerized. You used to need chips in your body to identify things about your body. Well, they've decoded many things about our body that can currently be picked up using frequencies, low frequencies, intermediate frequencies, and even high frequencies. Healthcare. A lot of the systems that use these frequencies are hazardous, extremely hazardous areas. There's been contradicting stories about TSA agents quitting. There's millimeter waves, which are similar to 5G, used in the full body scanning systems. It's unknown the total impact of electromagnetic energy versus the other type of scans that they use, which is backscatter optoreflectometry. You know, that sort of system to detect metal and other items on your body. But the reality is people don't know, and people like their conveniences. They don't want to give their conveniences up. So the deceiver comes in a very convenient way. And if you're a security person, the more convenient, the less secure. And the more secure, the less convenient. That's right. So we don't like to give up our conveniences. In companies, conveniences enable competitiveness. If you can do more with less resources, using automation, using frequencies, you can outpace your competition. You can charge less for your product because you don't have as many resources. Automation can make things safer, can make things faster. Instead of having a worker go around and collect data, you could have an automated system do that. This needs sensors and more devices, which creates more data. So we need faster data transfer capabilities than we currently have. And it all ties together into what we're seeing all around us, Mike. We have more and more being added, and nothing's taken away.
Yeah, it's frightening, Mark.
It is. What we know is that AM, the first radio signal, is still out there. Then they added FM, all the private radios. They've added all the telephones. Then they added 1X, 2X, 3G, 4G. Now they're adding 5G. They're not removing any of the antennas. The antennas are being maintained for all of those old technologies. Why do they need all of that radiation in the atmosphere? Why? Is it for backwards compatibility? Or is it to possibly be used to harm us? These are the questions we're going to talk about.
And those are questions that need to be answered.
I agree.
But then again, Mark, the hope is always in Jesus, right?
Amen.
We can pray. We can look to Him to walk us through these times and what we're going through. So,
Amen.
You know, listen, I want to thank you for taking time out. I know you're preparing for your presentation. I think it's tomorrow, and you're trying to help Coach out around here, and it's just exciting stuff going on here. Again, folks.
Amen.
It's at the Courtyard by Marriott, Canton, Ohio. CoachDaveLive.com. Go there. You can find all the information out.
One more thing. If you go to Occupy2019.com, Occupy2019.com, there's a button with a menu. You can click live stream.
Oh.
We are live streaming this, and for a donation, you can be a part of this. That donation will give you access to the live speakers. In addition, you'll have access to the archive. So what I would recommend is, if you can't come here to the Courtyard in Canton, then get a group together, you and your family, you and your neighbors, and y'all live stream it, get some popcorn, and enjoy these next couple days. There's much to learn, and it's all about equipping the saints. This is information that you can use, you can take away with you to do something. Instead of being a prayer warrior all the time, we need that too, but we also, Jesus went out and did. We need people to go out and do. That's what we've put together here, Mike, is a way to go out and serve Jesus. So,
Amen. Amen. And that site again?
Occupy2019.com, and then you click on the menu button and live stream.
Okay, great.
And for a simple donation, whatever your heart leads you to, you can have access to this event, which is an amazing thing.
Awesome. There you go, folks. That's going to wrap it up today, because we've got stuff we've got to do here. God bless each and every one of you. And remember, as we always say here on the Watchmen's Report, there's absolutely nothing you can't do with Jesus in your heart except nothing
Amen.
at all. Get out there, get busy, activate your faith. Get up out of that chair, get out on the streets, and
Amen.
make things happen. Mark, again, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
God bless. We'll see y'all later.